Previously in X-Men, the team has essentially entered the second season of the Uncanny X-Men run after Second Genesis in Giant Size X-Men #1, beginning there and going through. They've kind of run the gamut of their first group of villains. The creative team has just changed. Dave Cockrum has left the series. John Byrne is in.
Oh, wow.
And they're about to enter into a huge odyssey where they go to, I don't know, not to spoil for those who haven't read it yet, but a whole bunch of issues are coming up in a row where they're not going to make it back home for like a year. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe I'm not. Who knows? Today is a very special episode of Previously in X-Men, where our good friend Chris Sanigan is participating in family activities as it is spring break or March break here in Canada. So we won't see him tonight, but we are joined by our friend Jonathan Kociuba, cartoonist, famous for Paperhead, Loverman, Death Blazers, Flytrap, Cauldron, and the Flytrap 2.
Soon to be 3.
And 3! I don't have 2 or 3 yet. I have to get those. But I have the rest. Jonathan, thank you for joining me here tonight. We're going to draw, yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we're going to draw. So we are going to focus our chat, if we can, on some X-Men themed conversation. We're going to draw some X-Men themed characters from whatever time period we want. I know that I'm very much in the moment of when John Byrne joins this title with Terry Austin on inks. So I'm picking an antagonist from that time period who appears in 3 issues during the early part of the Byrne, Austin, and of course Chris Claremont run, which you'll see in a moment if you're watching this, anyone out there. And you were telling me that you were picking something a little bit more contemporary for our childhood.
Yeah, I'm going with the late 80s Inferno saga.
That is crazy.
That's the X-Men I start. That's when I was young. That's the first X-Men I kind of picked up.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What up, X-Friends? Jason Lowe is here. Hi, Jason. How are you?
Hey.
And X-Friend Chris, he says, as in Chris is gone. No, Jason, Chris is just experiencing March break from a very family point of view, which is wonderful. And we'll see Chris again in the very near future. Jason, I hope you're well and that you're drawing something too. And, as always, whatever we come up with in conversation, Jason has been very active in a really great way in participation and will give me his 2 cents on anything and everything we talk about. So I'm really grateful for that. So that's awesome.
He's also, Jason's also an official X-Men artist too.
Yeah, I don't want to brag about that. We have an X artist in the chat, but we do. And that makes it special. It's special whether, Jason, you're on X-Men as a project or not, but it does kind of make it extra braggy for us that someone who's actually officially connected to the X-Men as a property participates and watches or listens to the stream. So that is awesome. I'm going to add Jonathan's cam here, and you can see Jonathan's working on something. We're both working traditionally tonight, which is kind of cool, I think. And there's the one I'm working on. So I'm here. This is my setup in my studio. This is I don't know. My main stuff is actually right there, the computer and that section. I have my drawing board obviously here and a second cam set up. And Jonathan, where are you? You at work?
Yeah, I went back to work. It's just the internet's a lot better here. It's less problems.
Makes sense to me. Are you able to tell us what you're drawing so far or not yet?
Right now, I'm doing it's basically Madeline and Wolverine that's possessed, like when he was possessed by Madeline, when he has like that Inferno form.
Yes.
Which I like a lot.
It's so specific too. Like it's such a like an ex-geek kind of moment in time to know his Inferno form. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like how everyone has their time period where they start reading X-Men. Like you get your favorite stuff. If you don't mind me asking age questions here, like how old were you when you came across that stuff or your first X-Men comics?
I think it was like 5. Yeah, like when I was 5, I remember the roster being Longshot, Dazzler, Psylocke had the costume and stuff. I also remember so back in the day, though, it's still up there. I used to go to Red Nails,
Right.
and I remember
Manitoba.
seeing the posters, like the Inferno poster one where it's like this big long shot where like Jean Grey's like, I think all she's wearing is like the blanket that I guess she was like, that corner blanket and stuff on the floor, and then like Madeline's standing there, and a bunch of like the demons and all the X-Men are on the floor too as well.
Right. So this is before the X-Men split off into multiple series, right? There was, at that moment in time, there's X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, X-Factor, New Mutants, and Classic X-Men.
Yeah.
But the main title that one would read, I guess, would be Uncanny X-Men by Claremont. And in that moment, it's Mark Silvestri. Is that right?
Yep, Mark Silvestri. Yeah, that was
Dan Green maybe on inks. Maybe.
Who on inks?
Dan Green, I think.
Oh wow, I thought Chuck Austin like was like did Chuck Austin just like was he continue doing like X-Men for a while? Because I saw him being credited for like the like 90s X-Men. Like Chuck Austin was doing 90s X-Men as well too.
Do you mean Terry Austin or Chuck Austin?
Sorry, I mean who's inking right now X-Men?
Terry Austin.
Sorry, my bad. Terry Austin.
Chuck Austin is as far as I can remember, I think is a writer.
Oh, Chuck
Austin's run in maybe the aughts that
he has a bad
maybe
run.
right after the new X-Men by Morrison and quietly he takes over maybe Uncanny for a bit, or I don't know which title, and it's like kind of famously shitty.
Yes, it is famously shitty because he killed Skin.
I don't know what that means, but okay. I'll get
from Generation X.
Generation X. Okay.
Yeah.
That one past my reading experience, but I'll get there.
Yeah.
Jason says that he thinks that poster is still there in Red Nails.
Yeah.
Is like, correct me if I'm wrong, or like help me out here. We're talking like Runnymede and Bloor. No, further west. Jane and Bloor?
Yeah, right off the Jane Station.
I think I've only been there maybe once or twice. It's just not a part of the city I was in to buy comics very often. I think I bought some Batman animated figures there back in the late 90s, maybe. So you're 5 years old and you picked it up at Red Nails. Now I know you've got a brother. Is he older or younger? And does he play a role in your X-Men early experience?
Oh, for sure. My brother older. He's pretty much when I got me into comic books. Pretty much like would take me to the comic shop and everything.
Does he still read?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's the guy I go to kind of like to see what's going on with like any Marvel project and stuff. He collects DC stuff and he collects Marvel things, and I kind of I kind of get his take on like how a run's doing, or based upon what his input is and stuff. He's pretty good with his his input. Like I really respect his opinion on stuff.
Makes sense. He's your big brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you share comics, borrow comics from him as a kid? Steal comics from him?
He back then he was very secure. Like he had that collection of like you can't open his bags. They're bagged and boarded, and like they were in the long boxes. But usually sometimes what happens is I would get either like I would get my own version of it, and that kind of became the reading version.
Right.
I never really cared about the value aspect of stuff. Like I don't know. Like I know like in the 90s it was a big deal to have like no creases on your books and stuff. But it was like at one point it's not fun, and I just really wanted to like look inside.
Yeah, I mean, considering what you do, like your practice of making, you're interested in contents and not the collectible from a commodity point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Oh, I want to say too.
Exactly that way.
Oh, sorry. I would say this is that the John Burns one that that's just starting. I wonder if you're going to notice that John Burns is not going to do any of the covers for any of the books.
Sadly, his covers are too few for my taste because I'm a big fan. Yeah, when he starts the series, Cockrum is still on. We're going to get a few that he does, of course. And then famously towards the end of like the Dark Phoenix saga, he's doing the covers every time.
Yeah.
So even up until when he leaves the book, it's there's that Wendigo 2-parter, and you get the Days of Future Past. Like those are his covers.
Yeah.
So we will get a good dose of him during his run for sure. But Cockrum was still participating for a long time, which as a kid was really disappointing for me because, I was reading the series through Classic X-Men and then trying to find those issues at the really early Toronto comic conventions when they were at, OCAD and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow. Yeah.
And, if I was going to spend $12 or $13 on an issue, I did not want a Dave Cockrum cover. I wanted a John Byrne cover. So when I bought the first one with, Guardian or Weapon Alpha, Vindicator, or whatever, or the first Alpha Flight appearance, 120 and 121, I wanted Byrne covers because that's what I was used to. And I did not appreciate Dave Cockrum. He felt like second tier to me at the time. And I still kind of, I feel that way still.
Do you know the backstory behind the why Burns is not doing those covers?
I thought it was just because Cockrum was keeping, I don't know, one hand on the wheel. Please, I'd like to hear.
This is according to, so I've been listening to like Rob's observations that the Rob Liefeld podcast.
Yes, I listen to it sometimes too. He says a lot of things.
Yeah,
some of it goes in one ear and out the other for both me and for him. But go
on. Yeah. No. Like I listen to it because when I listen to it, I talk to my brother and we decipher. Like we try to like take out the ego aspect of him and try to see like if there's a nugget of truth within like salacious stuff.
Yeah.
But what he mentioned was who it was Cockrum. Was he the editor at the time for? Was he editing X-Men as well?
No, the editor at the time is Archie Goodwin. And then when we get into the issues that we're at now, it might still be Archie.
Okay.
I can grab one. They're right here.
But basically, he had it out for Burns. He hated Burns, and basically made it a point that Burns would never do a cover.
Oh, that's not very helpful.
Yeah, like it was personal.
Editor. Okay, it says on this one that the original editor is Jim Shooter, but he seemed pretty hands off. I don't want to have to crack open. Well, hold on. You keep talking.
Yeah.
Or don't. Essential X-Men. You got to have this stuff on hand when someone's going to talk some smack. So one of the things I like about Rob Liefeld's podcast, is that he has a lot of articles that he reads, or he'll read an interview with a person out loud. So, sometimes people make the mistake of assuming that what someone says in an interview is fact, as opposed to what someone's just saying. It's only just reported, right? So even if I tell you the story of how you and I first met, it's just reported speech. It's not necessarily factual.
Yeah.
We met in an alleyway fighting. We were fighting crime, and I was wearing blue, you were wearing red, and we realized we could team up and be two colored superheroes to fight other villains, and that's how we met. And they're like, no, that's a lie. It's a bold-faced lie. Do you remember where we met, by the way?
We met at TCAF.
True.
Yes. TCAF. And then afterwards, I think like I started seeing you around. Like I went to, because I was part of the Toronto Comics anthology.
True.
And you and Chris, I think you Chris like came by and stuff as well.
This is true. We came to a book launch. So Archie Goodwin is the editor. Roger Stern is sometimes editor. And then we get to the issue that Chris and I are on now. And it's the one where they are trapped in the circus. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Oh, yeah.
They're brainwashed, and they're members of the circus. And then Beast goes and frees them.
Oh, it's so cool. And
Jim Shooter is editor. This is really odd. I'm going to just show this to the camera here. Take a look. I'm reading it in black and white here.
Yeah.
Look what it says there. Can you see? It says Jim Shooter editor right there. And there's the blank spot before. I wonder if they took someone off.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think so.
That's a little odd. So it goes from being Archie Goodwin. And then it's that blank spot. I want to go now find the original book just to see that one little thing. But yeah, Rob tells all sorts of good stories. All sorts. He loves the fights between people, and he's a huge John Byrne fan too.
Yeah, which is funny too because John Burns like was like notorious for like even like shit talking him as well.
Oh, for sure.
I think John Burns famously said that he wanted to nail Rob Liefeld's hands to the wall.
Well, that's Byrne likes to say stuff.
Yeah.
I think I like him much better as an artist than I do a commentator.
Oh, for sure. Actually, I feel like I feel that for a lot of artists, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear like about Byrne's passions for things, like why he loves Kirby or why he loves this or that. I'm not interested in his take on why people are assholes. It's just not my cup of tea. But that's fine.
Yeah.
Same with Liefeld for that matter. Like I'm interested in hearing the good things that Liefeld can contribute. I'm not interested in his self promotion or his redundant speech or him trying to stir up controversy or anything with him and Todd. Like it doesn't interest me. I want to see what's on the page. Here are the stories about what's behind it, and I want to hear like maybe if he's met somebody and the interaction he had that was interesting or inspirational or positive in some way. I don't want to hear the stories where someone's rude to him or whatever because it just doesn't interest me.
I do find it
here. Trevor 16 Shooter is there, and you say that's why you like John Byrne. You got to backtrack this for a second. Why do you like John Byrne? Because he wants to nail Liefeld's feet or hands to the drawing board. Is that what you're saying? Oh, nailing his feet so you can draw them. Oh, Trevor, you're nasty, but right. Yeah, I'm luckily for my taste. I was already sort of stopping reading comics by the time Liefeld came on the scene. I started gaining traction. So the things that are good about him, or I should say, the things that people like about his artwork, it didn't take hold with me.
Yeah, I understand that.
I was sort of never drinking the Kool-Aid. And I can imagine if I was about 5 years younger, I would have probably really enjoyed the energy he brings, his personality and the enthusiasm. But I'm still, trapped a little bit in a generation older than him as far as the kinds of compositions I like and the kinds of fundamentals that I like. And then definitely now as a practicing cartoonist, like someone who draws every day and tries to make comics every day, I'm not getting anything from him that I can really apply, except for the enthusiasm, the sense of fun. Like,
yeah, I think so
really
too.
love what he's doing, and that's all I would really bring is like, okay, let's approach this, with some enthusiasm. But other than that, no, he's not for me, and that's totally fine.
No, I get that too. To be honest with you, like I mean, for the longest time, I really like crapped on a lot of Rob Liefeld. Like for me, right, like with the show itself, I think he's more valuable as a comic historian than he is as an artist.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take exception with what you said, just because it's this kind of show. Historians need to have achieved a certain level of like credibility through and try to be and strive for objectivity as opposed to striving for their personal bias and subjectivity.
That's true.
Objectivity can never be met. It's just something you can work toward and you can never reach it, but he doesn't even try.
Yeah.
He's more, instead of historian, I would see him more as a commentator, or a cheerleader, a representative in some way that is not at all objective because he lacks objectivity, or at least the attempt at it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like his perspective, like sorry, what made me historic? Maybe we'll backtrack that is that like. I think he brings a lot of value in his experiences of like that peak era and getting like that, like the kind of like the from the devil's mouth type of like kind of conversation. Like, so even when Rob Liefeld says something, right, I don't fully take it like word for word, but there's a truth I can decipher in there. My brother and I, what we'll do is after an episode, we'll break it apart and we'll be like for instance, like I'll give you an example. When he was talking about the Image, when he was being like kicked out of Image, right? He tries to make it sound like, oh, I left, right? Whereas like I can see their perspective of having an issue where this guy is part of your group and all of a sudden he makes another company aside from that, it takes talent. Like,
Totally,
you know what I mean?
totally.
Like you don't like as much as he tries to spin it, you're like, I don't think so. You know?
I'll give you another example of where he's completely subjective. He talks about superhero comics like they're the only kinds of comics out there.
Yeah.
Marvel and DC is it, and and of course Image. But he will speak as if no other countries make comics in any way, and that his books is the best-selling book in the world, but something in Japan or in France might outsell, and he'll have no idea. Like he's not interested in looking outside that scope.
Yeah.
So yeah, his field of vision is limited, which is normal to anybody, of course. But we have to kind of preface when we say things that are grandiose, we have to accept that our point of view is limited. We can only see what we see, and that there are things beyond our vision that we are
Yeah.
excluding from the conversation. He doesn't go there. But I do love him as like a pop culture soapbox commentator, because I like hearing what was on TV when a certain comic was coming out, or what was he listening to, or what snacks, what cereal was he eating when he was reading a certain comic book. So I like the holistic representation of his life through
Yeah.
culture. I enjoy that side of it, and he really is a happy-go-lucky sort of fellow in his presentation, and I enjoyed it for that. But yeah.
So since we're at the X-Men tangent stuff, so what I'll say is that again, growing up, like I was so used to the like Australia X-Men stuff, and then I think when I like moved to Mississauga, I think if the X-Men 1 just kicked it, like the Jim Lee X-Men 1 just kicked in.
Yeah.
And I remember that was a huge deal, because I remember my brother, him collecting all the multiple covers.
Yeah, it was a big deal for sure.
Yeah.
I remember, reading, same Jim Lee X-Men. When he joined the book, I already knew who he was because I was reading Alpha Flight when he was on that title, and I was reading Punisher War Journal when he's on that title. So he was a known entity, even to my young reader brain, and I was full on board with like the guys on Cartoonist Kayfabe nail it. Like like the lines under the lip, like the way he would draw certain parts of the face. Oh, I was like, totally into all that stuff, and completely in awe of his rendering at the time, and the idea that what that issue where it's World War II. I think it's 268, where it's Captain America on the cover and Wolverine and Black Widow, and that adventure in Madripoor. Like that was, I was 100% on board with all of that. But I found that the stories, I started to care a lot less. But I was also 15. Like I was 15 years old, so my money was going other places. I was much thinner, but filling up on as many calories as I could during the school day at the cafeteria. So my money was going to cafeteria food and other things. There wasn't as much left for the comic book store. And then once the that kind of shift towards making as many comics as we can as publishers started becoming known to me, like I could recognize they're doubling up on Spider-Man titles, they're doubling up on X-Men titles. G.I. Joe was spinning out of control and how many titles they're getting. Like I can't keep up anymore.
Yeah.
And everything got a little too inflated for me, and that was it. I was, CDs were kind of new as well, and I'm dropping $20 at a record store, and I was getting Beatles CDs, like that's what I wanted, and there wasn't as much money on the table for comics, so I was just dipping out as X-Men 1 started. So I only got it recently. I got it like 2 years ago.
Oh, hilarious! I think Kayfabe nailed it with the like you could. I never realized how, if you look at it, it's basically a war against Chris Claremont and Jim Lee, like on the page.
Yes, a war between them. You mean? Yeah.
Like you could see like the lettering, like
yeah.
How much like lettering was just getting like the page was getting murdered by the lettering and stuff.
Oh,
like you'll see like Jim Lee, his like he just has more like you could tell like that the pages he drew are more for resale value, like the for like a dealer collector and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you'll see like 50 word bubbles in one page.
Well, once those guys realized that pages had resale value, and they're getting, it took a decade for guys to get their work back and to find out how much things were worth on the open market. Um, and once they realized that they could supplement their income, and they were getting royalties, like everything kind of shifted
Yeah.
in the way they were making things, which is understandable. Um, but yeah, it's funny how that changes the way the storytelling happens. How, right? Economics changes the way that things look.
I think also too with like kind of going within the live field and like Jim Lee and McFarlane in that era. I think there was something interesting in that era because I think it was when Marvel kind of stopped doing the on model type of illustration drawings,
Right.
and so I think it was almost kind of like a like I don't know, like there was an art movement in the sense of like it was just like a huge burst of like something very very different from what you're used to.
Yeah, you're right. I think totally about, John Romita Sr. kind of being this art director, and everyone working on model. Yeah, yeah. And there would be probably more editorial oversight on how things are supposed to look. And then yeah, once this would be interesting to track. Like, who are the first guys to break the on model system? McFarlane for sure with
Yeah.
Spider-Man. And you think about the late '90s, how Wolverine's mask, like that Bill Sienkiewicz cover to maybe it's not Sienkiewicz, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's Simonson. To Marvel Comics Presents #1, where his mask is like massive. And remember Meltdown, the painted Kent Williams. I'm out of my depth now, but it was a painted 4-parter, I think, 3 or 4-parter with Havoc and Wolverine.
Oh
And his
yeah,
hair
that's
is insane, and
yeah.
so getting off model, I think, was something happening more and more at the end of the decade. And yeah, it puts more power in the hands of those creators to express themselves not just through the way they tell a story, but how they render a character and what that character, like Wolverine gets more feral, gets more drastic. Barry Windsor Smith,
Yeah.
Trevor 16shooter is saying such a classic cover, referring to, I believe, 168. It is an awesome, awesome, awesome cover that I love to look at. But what's better than the cover to me, in my eye, is the splash page, the one of Captain America flying, jumping at some hand ninjas on the docks of Madripoor. That's
Oh,
one
that's amazing.
of my favorite
Yeah.
splash pages of all time that has been aped by everybody, including Jim Lee, within other X titles. And Trevor continues here saying they started Image so they could do 3 splash pages per issue. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with splash pages when there's a moment for them. I mean, look at Dark Knight Returns. I think something we all love. There are a plethora of splash pages, and every time it happened, it melted me. Like I love every splash page in that in either the graphic novel or the individual issues. Yes, those Havoc Wolverine covers were incredible. They were, and it's just that idea that they're the way the characters look, right? They're getting dramatically rendered in the hands of the artist. Mignola,
That was on the Epic line, right?
totally different. Everyone. It was a really neat period. I wonder, like, where that really starts.
Well, I have a feeling that honestly, I have a feeling that possibly Frank Miller might be like the genesis of kind of that concept of because like even with Daredevil, right? Like the Daredevil comic book when he started to draw in as well too. Just by narrative wise, how he basically was given this comic book and basically like show that you don't have you have to get changing the character has some positive stuff, and then he kind of was on a roll with that with like the Batman stuff where he's like, I could change that, I could change Batman, and he changed Batman, and
Right.
then he was part of, I guess, with Chris Claremont with the Wolverine one too as well, and even Elektra, right? Like you see like all these things that he started to get like more and more freedom with, and I wonder if like the '80s, like people maybe editors and so that wanted like the next Frank Miller or that kind of concept where it's like
Sure.
they're hoping, they would bring that same energy and stuff.
Hey, hello there, Twang Around. How are you today? Hope you're good. I wonder now that we're talking about sort of the end of the Kirby, end of Neil Adams, end of the end of the house style at Marvel and DC. Who are the artists that really break those house styles not just on the fringes, but in the mainstream for both those. Byrne, I think, is pretty much on the house style, and even though he reinvents the house style slightly,
Yeah,
toward leaner figures like Neil Adams, he doesn't do anything drastic with recreating the way a character can be interpreted from an abstract. Okay, that's maybe the word I needed. He
yeah,
doesn't
abstract. Yeah,
abstract any of the characters, right? They're never an abstraction from what they were before, from the generation previous. But McFarlane's Spidey is completely an abstraction
yeah,
from Sal Buscema or any of the artists that are doing Spidey leading up to that. Um, like every artist has their own hand and their own style, but McFarlane's, yeah, I don't know, Liefeld. I wonder. I gotta keep thinking about this.
Well, I'll say this about Liefeld, and like what people maybe have to kind of understand too as well is there are artists out there that are amazingly technical artists, but they're not exciting. Like they're boring
Yeah.
because they it's just like this thing where you have to bring something interesting. And I feel like what Liefeld possibly brings in is like the opposite part of it, right? Like you're so used to seeing you know things rendered in a certain way, and um and like things are supposed to be where they are. Where I feel like with like maybe when that era came in, where like Liefeld and like McFarlane and stuff, it's kind of like this. They were more on the factor of interesting, like stand out type of thing. Where it's like it doesn't necessarily like it's funny because I look at McFarlane old stuff now, and I feel like he's more influenced by like Art Crumb. Like he's almost like a just a better rendered Art Crumb artist.
Yeah, that is interesting to think about for sure. I wonder. I mean, with my feeling about Liefeld, and this is not like a hot take at all. It's very mild. Is that a lot of guys fake certain things, right? On cartoonist kayfabe, they would say they kayfabe something like back muscles or whatever.
Yeah,
They're faking certain elements of the figure and of perspective, but they're better at faking it. They're not necessarily technically better artists or better illustrators, but they fake certain things better. He
yeah,
doesn't fake things well at all. And then it's like the cross hatching.
yeah,
It's like a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. They're aiming for Terry Austin. They're in terms of the tightness of his inking. They're aiming for Michael Golden. They're aiming for Arthur Adams, and they dilute the formula that those guys use a degree too far, where the holes, the gaps in the cross hatching are so big that it's
yeah.
no longer cross hatching. It's just wide lines that are that look like train tracks as opposed to a gradient. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, I agree with that. I remember even like see like Jim Lee did like Jim Lee probably did the best out of all of them to some extent. But I remember like as a kid copying. I don't know if you noticed, but there was a time in the '90s where Wolverine and other superheroes had this Atticus shading on their head. The
What
protractor
is
forehead shading.
Atticus shading? What's that?
Sorry, I mean the protractor. Like it looked like Wolverine had a protractor on his head. Do you ever
Okay.
notice that? Like if you look at the old like if you look at old '90s Marvel card or something, right? You'll see like this. There's a cross hatching shading technique they do where it's a half circle and then they do like a cross hatching on the side.
Yes.
It looks like a protractor. And
Yes, I
everyone
get
get
it.
it.
I understand what it's supposed to be too. It's supposed to be um, double lighting, where
Yeah,
I'm using my own head here as an example, which is great. As a light hits the back, it's going to create like a corona on the top, and then you'll have an element of darkness right there, where the one light, uh, it's like the edge of it, where right
yeah,
after the light is a dark, and then you'll have the natural lighting of his face, where he'll have the yellow or the tan of his mask. But the colorist wouldn't always give them double lighting. They wouldn't always do the second color, so it wouldn't necessarily work. And then it just becomes shorthand for how to draw a head.
yeah,
Liefeld does the same thing with a crotch. The
yeah.
cod pieces he would make are like, it's just a big dome of marshmallow, or I don't know, whatever it is.
You know, artist is still amazing, even better than before. Art Adams.
Oh, he's incredible.
Have you seen his Spider-Man covers?
Yeah, I follow him on Instagram, like I'm assuming the rest of the world does,
Yeah,
because he's just so entertaining as an artist. But I also fall victim to buying his covers, even though the interiors are not his. So once in a while, I'll go to the comic store, and if there is an Art Adams variant cover on the shelf, I cannot resist because they're just that man can sell a cover, to me better than anybody. And I have issues with him, like not personal, of course, but I mean he pulls me in the wrong direction as a learning artist. He makes me want to draw his way,
Yeah.
and his way is not healthy, and it's not productive for me. It is like antithetical to the principles that I'm trying to apply to my artwork. Like he'll make me draw things worse because I'll get so hung up on detail that I'll forget to focus on flow and speed. Um, so I love him, but he's sugar for me. He's something I should not be consuming. I'm not allowed more Arthur Adams. So Kevin toying around says, "What are y'all drawing?" I'm drawing Weapon Alpha, my favorite antagonist from what I'm going to call second season from X-Men, which is sort of where we're at right now in our read. It's an excuse for me, a Canadian, to draw my first favorite non like television superhero. Like being Batman 66 and Spider-Man 67 and Superman movies. And this was like reading Marvel Comics. I'm like, oh my god, Guardian! I love this guy. So this just became an excuse for me to draw Guardian. So that's what I'm drawing, Kev. Jonathan, I don't know if you follow Kevin toying around. He has a live stream. He has an unboxing of toys every
Oh, amazing.
Thursday night, and as well, like lots of great Star Wars post-episode live stream action on his channel. Not
Oh, wow.
Also like Trevor 16 Shooter here is an incredible toy photographer. You might follow these guys. I have no idea because I know you love action figures too, which we can get into. Trevor's awesome. Like his photographs are incredible. I know you follow Jason Lowe, so there you go. That's everybody. Hey, Trevor, Kevin, and Jason, did you guys pick up Captain America, the new one, 20th anniversary Toy Biz, anniversary of Toy Biz figures?
That's amazing.
Trevor, I think I saw. Did you photograph those guys? That figure already in an awesome way? I'm hoping. All right. When it comes to Weapon Alpha here, Jonathan, do you do the stripe down the full leg? Like, yeah, is there a? So let me put this. Where should I put it?
Oh, I see.
You do a red flag. It's like the stem of the flag all the way down the leg, or do you taper it off at the waist?
I would taper all the waist. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I'll cut mine off at the waist too, then, in honor of you.
Oh, thanks.
I don't think graphically it helps the flow at all to have it go down the leg. So we'll just play. I'm a really delaying drawing here. Like I'm going really slow and I'm scared because there's an audience, and I'm just not doing my regular way of sort of figuring out where the blacks are first and then moving and doing details after. I'm a little hung up on it. Oh, what are you saying there, Kevin? Oh, you might see all Jason's this weekend. I hope you do see Jason's plural this weekend at Toronto Comic Con at the Convention Center. Jason Lowe is tabling. I am tabling. And Kevin, you're coming on Sunday, I believe. So hopefully I'll see you there too. But I won't talk to you. I'll ignore you. Ah, right. Of course, you shot Doctor Strange. 16 Shooter says. Trevor shot Doctor Strange. It looks beautiful. I just get toy brain. After a while, you see so many pictures, you forget what you looked at. Carmine Infantino, you hated when he drew Star Wars. I don't think I ever saw Carmine Infantino's Star Wars. I don't think there were very many Star Wars artists that I liked at the time of reading them. I like them much more now, especially when I see their stuff raw. When I see their stuff in pencils or inks, I think it's much better. But Star Wars stuff was never on model as a kid for me, so I always disregarded it, which was a foolish mistake.
Oh.
Yeah.
I recently got I had this memory with speaking. It was talking about Alpha Flight and Jim Lee. I remember back in the day. I got that there was when Jim Lee did Alpha Flight. There was one with the Purple Man story.
Yes.
And I remember I got I got that issue. I got one of the issues using my Tooth Fairy money, because back then I think I got $2, so it was like, you know what I mean, like and the crazy. So what happened was it was a whole domino effect of negative things that happened. So at home, I brought it home, and then my mom saw the inside about, I guess, the dead people and stuff, and then she all of a sudden like goes, "Well, what else is he reading?" And then she took away all my Punishers, all my Wolverines. I'm trying to justify it. I had pictures drawing Wolverine stabbing people, punching people in the stomach and stuff.
Nice.
I had Ghost Rider posters that were ripped off the wall. I had to take them off because like the satanic stuff.
Oh my goodness. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You must have been really upset. I would have been fucking furious.
Yeah.
Like for me as a kid, that would have been I hate my parents moment for sure.
Well, I couldn't really say much at that time. Like Bob's Polish, so I couldn't really say much. Wooden spoon.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Yeah.
My parents were not wooden spoon. If that now we're using your rules there, yeah, they were different in that they were much more Canadianized, given that they were, even their parents were born here, so they were a little bit less traditional.
Yeah.
But I don't think I ever would have gotten away with, and I hate you, but I would have said it with my eyes. Yeah, I would have definitely given the Jeffrey Dahmer Jr. eyes at my dad for ripping posters off the wall. But on the other hand, he was more of an enabler than a enforcer. So he was giving me stuff that other parents would be ripping off walls, which was fine. I turned out okay. No killing. It's all good. Anyway, so back to action figures for a minute, because we got some action figure folk in the chat. Do you have any X-Men action figures?
I have the only thing I have left over right now is I have I still have some of the old Series 2 X-Men stuff. So I have like the Gambit with the plastic trench coats, like the one that's made of garbage bags.
Yes.
I have that. I have Strife still. I have I think it was I have the Wolverine in the yellow costume with the thumb back action. Where there's like a little like tab that sticks on the back, so you can put your thumb on Wolverine and just you can do like that.
I have that one too.
Yeah. I used to have the Marvel series Wolverine talking one, the one that had voice action.
Oh, nice.
It came with a backpack that had you press a button and it had like the it would say, "I got claws, I know how to use them," and then it would go ching 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 ching. Like it would just like you would hear all his claws and stuff.
Yeah. That's awesome. Those were all after I stopped collecting, as a younger kid. Obviously I was older in the 90s. But I hopped on when Marvel Legends came out. So getting that first, like this 20th anniversary of Toy Biz, like that was when I came back into buying Marvel, but I was buying Batman the entire time. But that's unrelated. Did I get Doctor Strange yet? No, I have not seen Doctor Strange in the wild, and none of my friends that have found it have said, "Hey, do you want one?" So I will get Doctor Strange one day, but I haven't seen him yet. It looks great. I have to admit, I don't like the cape. It's the cape used from a previous Marvel Legend, and I find it not as much fun. So that might be something to upgrade. Of all like the Marvel Legends capes, maybe Thor and Doctor Strange are the two I'd consider third-party upgrades. I don't know. What do you guys think? For those of you who upgrade or use third-party stuff. Anyway, so do you have Marvel Legends, Jonathan? I know you like retro toy stuff on the Instagram too.
Yeah.
Sometimes you and I like the same stuff. I see that,
Yeah.
Toy Otter. I notice you've been.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like I so for me personally, like I like to because again, I don't hold on to a lot of stuff now with toys and stuff.
Right.
But I like to live vicariously to you guys, basically. Like I like one day I would like to visit. I would purposely visit your house to say like, hey, it's great. Where's the toys?
Yeah, if you came over, it would have to be a long visit, and you're welcome to, by the way.
Yeah.
It would have to be a long visit because we'd like talk comics and pull hardcovers off the shelf, and yeah, I mean, there's always tons to go through. It's such a fun, like I have not let go of anything. So, I'm for better or for worse, and you can do some psychoanalysis if you want to. I was able to stay, with my parents in the same house for a long time and keep all my stuff. There was space for it. And I sold my original Star Wars toys, or at least a good batch of them, to buy G.I. Joe toys in the early 80s. But my stuff, I kind of still have most, or if not all of it. Like, Dinky Car of the Batmobile from Batman 66 that I got somewhere. Like, I still have boxes of my old toys, even from the late 70s. So all my comics, I have all of it, and I haven't. Only thing I've really parted with, it was like a big item, and this is a G.I. Joe thing. Here in Canada, so this is those of you who are here. Trevor is the only one I think in the States so far, at least live. We have a store up here called Sears, and Sears had G.I. Joe exclusive stuff. That was always just repaints or
Canadian flag on
using the regular Hasbro molds, but different colors. So
Yeah.
the G.I. Joe Vamp, the green Jeep in the first generation of G.I. Joe toys, they made a black Vamp with Cobra stickers on it around 1983. And I got that from Sears. And because it was exclusive to Canada, American collectors, it escalated in value incredibly in the 2000s. And so I sold that maybe 10 years ago for a washer and dryer.
Nice.
Like we needed a washer dryer, so I sold this thing, and it had like lots of zeros. So, but that's the only item like I've probably really parted with. And I've gone back and collected some stuff that I had lost, like the Star Wars. I got it all back. So, yeah, there you go. So, what's going to be hard to remove? Hold on. What's hard to remove, Trevor? The Doctor Strange cape? Is it glued on? You're gonna have to tell me. Sorry, Jonathan. Go for it, man.
Oh no, I was just saying that like I like G.I. Joe was probably like my favorite ones because it was so accessible at the time as a kid. Like I think a figure was way cheaper than to buy like anything else.
Oh yeah.
You could just build an army and stuff. If you were more well off, you would have like in your family, you would have like a vehicle or a base.
Yeah. Oh, it was great. You could, and I just like that you could use other things from around the house, and you could use elements from other toy series, and your like the front yard or the backyard or a little wooded area nearby. Just have some grass, and there's a place to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super accessible for me as well. I can go deep on G.I. Joe, unfortunately, but it's sort of like one of the facets of my geekdom that I don't often flex.
I'll say at one point, Jason at one point, he owned the U.S. flag. He had it for a bit, but he never got to put together. So, but he used to own it. Yeah. Not as a kid though. He got it like much later and stuff. But that was a crazy find.
This is some heavy stuff. I didn't think we'd go there. We'd keep this nice and simple. That's some pretty heavy stuff, Jonathan. Wow. I've still never even seen one.
Yeah. When I was a kid, we didn't have the base. We couldn't afford base stuff. So my mom, because she worked at the printing place, she would come back with like empty boxes of paper, like empty paper boxes, and we would cut them. I would use the lid for the interior stuff, like the rooms and stuff, and I would make stairs and like basically make a castle G.I. Joe base.
That sounds awesome. And I think that's one of the best parts about smaller figures is the the ability to do that. And it's not a one up. It's like similarly, my older brother was really kind, and one day, well, he was really kind twice. And, and one day he had started to save up the flats, like the bottom of the Coke or pop can cases. Like my mom drank Diet Coke, so those, they would look like the top of boxes from paper boxes or banker boxes or whatever you want to call them, like the lids. But they were, how the flats that you buy pop cans in. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
So he tore off the plastic and he saved
Oh,
8 of them, and then he threaded. He punched holes in all 4 corners, and then he threaded string through each of the corners, and tied knots, and then put it and attached it to the beams in the ceiling, cross beams in the ceiling, because they were, our basement had an exposed ceiling, and it basically hung a 8-story skyscraper for me.
oh, that's amazing.
So I had Extensive Enterprises, which was like this. It was the one of the towers and like the evil twins, the Crimson Guard twins.
Yeah.
It was like I had a tower to have like adventures on different levels while I was playing, which was really awesome. But it meant that every every adventure involved either climbing the outside of a tower or going through the stairwells or elevator shafts or whatever I could come up with. But everything was like urban warfare from then on, as opposed to castles, which are so much fun too. But yeah, my brother Ryan did an awesome build for me. So
Oh, that's so cool. That's so nice.
Yeah. So one of the 2 times he was nice. The other time he was working at a video store and he got me the Batman '89 cardboard cutout standee of Michael Keaton.
Oh, it's so cool.
So I woke up one morning, opened my bedroom door, and Michael Keaton was standing in full Batman costume, was standing the outside of my bedroom door, up against it. So it scared the shit out of me. It was awesome. I still have it.
At Red Nails, I'm so tempted. I might ask them. They still have the giant life-size Wolverine Art Adams cardboard cutouts. Yeah, that one. Yeah. It's like sun damage too, and it's kind of like it's like tucked behind like the rack. So I don't know. I think I might one day just go there and just ask, oh, can I take that, or
what might be kind of cool if you can. I mean, this is a lot of work. Maybe it's not that cool, but to remake it.
Well, like you could kind of fix it up a bit, like a kind of like a restoration thing, right?
Yeah, restoration, maybe on wood. I don't know.
Well, that'd be kind of cool too.
Yeah, I see a lot of guys lately, just because of Instagram, guys like making comic book replica stuff on with acrylic paints on wood, and sometimes it can look really good as a recreation. I think it's kind of cool.
Oh, I just wanted to acknowledge what Jason said about the U.S. flag. It was too much space.
For sure.
Yeah. What was it? How was it, like 6 feet?
I think so. Or even more. So I'm interested to hear from Jason under what circumstances he acquired it. If he had to dispatch another human being from this planet to get it, or if it was purchased for an exorbitant amount of money, or you have to sell a kidney. I'm curious. I'm so slow. Like if you look at, we've been going at this for almost an hour, and like that's all I've done is like outlined. I'm so distracted and interested in chatting that.
I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm at conventions. I'm a very, very, very slow sketcher for sure. Forgiveness, please. Mm.
You know, another more modern X-Men artist that I think for me, I think he just became kind of my favorite artist, or whenever I look at his work, Stuart Immonen.
Yeah, you're not the only person who has told me lately that they like Stuart Immonen.
Yeah, I'll always pack one of his trades in my bag and just kind of like look at it and kind of see like because he cracks a certain code where he does like there's all these levels he hits on. He hits on like realism, like animated, like he can be expressionism, great use of negative space, composition, like all these things put into one.
It sounds very powerful.
Yeah.
Kalman Androstovsky was telling me, we were chatting about favorite Spider-Man artists, and he dropped Stuart Immonen's name.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna have to check out some more of his stuff. Quarter of your parents' living room. My goodness, that is a big USS flag. A coworker bought it off me for the price I paid. Your soul. Got it off eBay, shipped to a friend's place in Buffalo, and drove across the border with the USS flag. Did you tell the people at customs what it was? I would like they see it and they're like, "Sir, we salute you."
Yeah.
Amazing. I have not seen. Is it pronounced Pepe Larraz? Larraz. I have not. I'll have to check him out. I'm gonna put it on Instagram right now so that I don't forget, because otherwise it's all just crap talk. This is exciting watching me on Instagram. There's Pepe Larraz. Nice. Wow. They inspected the USS flag at customs. That's incredible. That's really funny. But they didn't have it like an emotional reaction as if they were fans as well. That'd be outrageous. Sorry, Jonathan, are you? Sorry, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, you go ahead. What's up?
I was going to ask you where you fit on the JR, fan or not fan, because some people really dislike him. Some people really like his stuff, and he's a notable X-Men artist. So to me, he's a good topic for conversation.
Yeah. Okay. So honestly, it all depends what his run is, right? So I'll say this: I would love if I find any of his Daredevil stuff out in the wild, I'll totally pick it up. Like I love his Daredevil work. His especially when he does Typhoid Mary and stuff. It's like amazing. That whole storyline with Mephisto, great. In the 90s, just before the Marvel switched to the digital coloring, I don't know, like it was like it was some artists. There are some artists that you can kind of. There's some artists I don't buy anymore because this is how good they'll ever get. You're like, there's nothing new that's going to surprise me with this person, okay. And so for him at one point he was like that, but then when he started getting colored better, I could start like his Spider-Mans start getting really good. I really like this. He did this Captain America run where Captain America's in the future, and the color when it's colored, it looked like a European comic book. It was like a John Carter from Mars type of concept. I think it came 10 years ago or something. He was doing it.
It was when he's in like Dimension Z or Dimension Z for like Zola, Arnim Zola.
I think so, yeah. But I don't know. It's weird. Like there's like for instance, I wasn't like when he was doing Kick-Ass, I wasn't compelled to buy Kick-Ass because I was like, all right, well, if I'm gonna buy an indie comic book, I would like or something that's like fringe wise. I don't know. I wasn't as interested in that one, but I do love his Wolverine Enemy State issue. Like I think he really like lets loose, and you get to see him like really plot out a fight sequence. Get to see him cut out. But yeah, again, like I said, it all depends really what he does. Because there are some artists I feel like, even writers too, comic artists and writers as well, that get really complacent with the month-to-month stuff. That they have a formula, right? Where it's like it's great for like they figure out a way to get the comic book done at a certain time, but like I don't know, like sometimes for me personally, it's like this thing where when you see an artist, like for instance, when you see a guy do an artist for Image, and then all of a sudden he does a monthly for Marvel, and you can see the difference in style. Like he's not he has to kind of like reach that certain deadline to get that certain work. And so sometimes for me, I get turned off by some of those things as well, where I feel like I don't know, like I would wait. I wouldn't mind having a comic book late if it's like compelling or those things.
Sure, that makes sense. I do not know if I could stand a book be if I was a pro,
Yeah.
a book be late because of my style choices. That might drive me insane. But at the same time, it might drive me insane to not put out work that I think best represents my ability, or best in this case, more importantly, best represents the story.
No, I get that too.
I don't know. I think that's an interesting conundrum for people to be in.
Like I'll give you something like Stephen McNiven, right? When he was doing like it was funny because you look at the same time, right? You at the same time, Infinite Crisis was going on as Civil War, and Stephen McNiven was doing Civil War pages, and like I thought like each issue was great. Like it was like a huge like knockout. Like he did a great job fight sequences and stuff. And some issues didn't come in time, whereas like where I feel like DC was really they wanted to get their stuff on time, but you could see like they were doing shortcuts that they later corrected in the trades.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was one whole sequence. There's a splash page where they just color the main focus subject, and then in the actual trade, the whole page is colored.
Oh, cool. So, sorry, was this in DC or in Civil War?
Oh no, DC did this part. But I don't know. It's just weird. Like I mean, obviously too. So I think there are some artists that are amazing at certain deadlines. Like Stuart, like again, Stuart Immonen, right? He's one of those guys that does two. He does two comic books, sometimes like a month or something, and he's like, I don't know. He might be the best comic artist in the sense of like industry wise of like, in that setting of stuff of a monthly comic book and stuff.
Oh, 2 books a month is crazy.
Yeah.
Really impressive. I remember there were a couple scenes in Civil War that were inked differently. You're reading along. There's like the first fight between Captain America and Iron Man. If you, not to get too deep in the weeds of the story, but
yeah.
There's a moment where, when he says like, "Cap, your jaw's barely hanging on, like it's hanging on by a thread here. Like you got to stop."
Yeah.
And I guess it leads to the part where they. I think they escape and Cap is that when Thor shows up? The
clone Thor, right?
Yeah, it's one of the, like I said, it's like the first fight the two of them have, the fist fight, and Hercules comes running in like, "Oh, I'll save you, Cap," because Iron Man is destroying him. Yeah. Anyway, but there's a different inker on there for a bit.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I don't know. It's like obviously right. Like I think it's certain people have to cut out for and stuff like. But again, like I like what certain artists I like that are pretty consistent. I'm trying to think of the monthly guys that I like.
It's okay.
Honestly too, like I like Bagley. Bagley, like when he does like I really respect Bagley a lot. I think he has like a certain like work ethic that like when he's on a title, it's going to come out.
Right.
Like he might be.
I don't enjoy his pages. It's just I don't respond to his stuff.
I'll say this: his New Warrior work is my favorite. I think if you see his New Warrior, that's his best work. I think.
Well, right. That's where we get like the age thing, right? Where I wasn't even reading comics then, so I have no connection to the New Warriors at all.
Oh man, because I remember in the like one of the 80s as a kid. I felt like my brother and I were the only people who liked Speedball.
Yeah, it might have been.
Yeah, I know, right? You're like, I agree.
When it came out, I did not understand Ditko.
Yeah.
And I didn't appreciate it, and it didn't capture anything for me. But again, it's it's just that time period where my brother liked Power Pack. And I gave it a shot. It really wasn't huge for me, but that was one of my first X-Men comics was because Power Pack was in it. I think it was 197. With a Bill Sienkiewicz cover, with Wolverine holding up one of the kids from Power Pack with his claws out in the other hand. Because Wolverine should be killing kids. But yeah, not everything inspires. So yeah, I didn't. Speedball didn't work on me.
No, I get that too. Steve, especially like what didn't help too is Steve Ditko didn't. He drew everybody in the same fashion as he did in Spider-Man 1960s. Like they all wore the same clothes from the 1960s. But it
Yeah,
was
yeah, he didn't make the big leap.
no.
That's one of the funny parts I think with comics is like cartoonists. They don't like their version of what people wear. Sort of often is stuck from a time from their youth, and that's how they draw people in civilian clothes from then on.
Oh yeah, it's really it's hilarious. Like yeah, like I remember even like seeing like yeah like JR like what sometimes like when he was drawing Spider-Man characters or he would draw the guys in the streets and stuff, and then every gang guy has the puppy jacket.
Oh yeah, shoulder pads.
His shoulder pads.
One of the things I love about his stuff is the storytelling. It's like the clarity. I find his stuff is always a fast read, and I don't think I realized how many of his comics I actually owned until I stopped to think about it, and how
Yeah,
many I would reread over and over. And like, oh, I really enjoy this, and it wasn't because of his style; it was because of his clarity.
yeah, I
I
get
could
that.
I could see past some of the ugly faces or weird legs, because I just was enjoying the narrative so much.
And there's something uniquely him that like you like he draws certain people. He draws like that kind of chunky style that no one really draws like that. Like it's kind of uniquely him, which I'm
Yes, well, his stuff is instantly recognizable. That's for sure.
yeah. Like it was fascinating seeing him go to DC and kind of like seeing what he could do as a DC artist.
Yeah, and it was amazing that I didn't enjoy looking at it.
Yeah,
I don't want to see his Superman. It looked not that super.
yeah.
I love his Wolverine though, for whatever reason. So one of my favorite ones that he did was Wolverine: Enemy of the State with Mark
Yes.
Millar. I reread that regularly.
Yeah, I was saying that. Yeah, that's my favorite art sequences of like when Wolverine like cuts the shield ship with the sharks coming out and stuff.
Yeah,
I was surprised. I was like, is this a dream sequence? Like this is like nuts. Like how like all the casualties and stuff. Like people are not coming back from this one. Like
that's for sure. That's for
yeah.
sure.
There was a weird. So you know what's weird though. So there was a time Eric Larson was writing Wolverine for a little bit. Like I think a couple years before that. I think he had a thing called Enemy Estate. It was a two-parter, and it was drawn by I want to say Masuda. I think Masuda was drawing Wolverine just temporarily for like a few issues.
Okay.
But they did a similar version of it, but they softballed it where like his claws were like something he was possessed by something, but his claws were not real. Like there was like a thing where they would like so he was cutting through like Black Cat or the New York Street characters, and they weren't getting killed. They were just getting like stunned.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay.
yeah,
It's yeah, superhero comics. What are you gonna do?
I know, right?
Sometimes that's just what's gonna happen. They're not gonna be able to do the thing they want to do. So that's too bad. I need to negative space. I gotta sort of do a negative effect on this guy's hand, or eliminate it altogether. I gotta figure this out. Let's do it like a chunky side of the pencil. Figure this thing out here. These muscles I have a tough time with. The forearm.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
you mind posing for me?
oh like
I'm just joking.
yeah, I realized not the angle.
Here, this one comes over. Uh, yeah, it's tricky when the arm comes, and then you. Anyway, I'm not going to get into it.
What do you think about Mark Teixeira's Wolverine?
Nothing. Honestly, those '90s guys that were, I missed the whole thing.
Oh, I
So
see.
Tex, I didn't get to see. I see now on the internet, and it all feels like I, it makes me feel old in that everything looks like something that looks more flash than substance, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to like intentionally learn the other side of it. I'm trying to learn. Um, I don't know. I'm trying to learn how to make art that I think is more timeless. That stuff just feels really really dated to me.
I think there's things you can take from it. Like you can if
Sure.
you if you were to like for instance, like I think there's an element of flash that a lot of like the best artists have, but they're able to like not like use it as a crutch, or I don't know, say it, or like they like for instance I'll say this, like Rob Liefeld was onto something, but he didn't go further than what he could have done. Like like just like
Okay.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's like like if he understood more and more of what he was doing, what he was onto, that maybe like he would be looked upon differently, or maybe I would have a different perspective of his drawings and stuff. But I'll use them like Art Adams, right? You see how Art Adams his artworks evolve. If you ever see like the late '80s Art Adams, it's very very different to what he's doing right now. Like
Sure.
he was more his body proportions were much more elongated. Like he had like bigger mouth expressions and stuff, and then you start to see him now getting like tighter with all this stuff. Like but even now too, I think he's even evolved from like what he did like 10 years ago. Like
Totally.
with the Spider-Man stuff, you start seeing like the new Spider-Man covers he does. Like you can see he's trying to play with the feet more. Like he's almost coming. He's kind of almost went back around again and kind of made the big feet again.
Yes. Yes. He really he's abstracting on his own styles to the point where he's like he's still finding his voice. It's incredible.
Yeah, nice dude too. I met him in person.
Oh yeah.
Uh, so like here like my so this is like my like story good story and stuff too is so I was tabling Fan Expo I think like 4 years ago, and I remember like I was at the artist alley and I kind of it was one of those experiences where it's like what I was selling like wasn't the right thing there and stuff, and I was packing up at the end of the day when the convention was over, and Art Adams I think he was tabling across from us and stuff. It had a table, and he walked up to me and he was like, "Hey, how's your day?" and stuff, and I was like, I turned around, it's Art Adams, like, "It was good, man." Like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" Like, I just all of a sudden like realized it was him. Nicest guy.
That sounds like a good experience. He someone he posted a commission he was working on. I don't know if you saw this comment from him, and someone said like, "How much for the commission?" And he just wrote back like, "Too much. You can't afford it." Like, but with a smile, where he was, if you have to ask, you can't afford it. His stuff, I mean, I think it goes for maybe even like $1,000 or plus per page when he's like reselling for fan sketches,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Are you gonna buy one of those those John Burns what Elseworlds pages?
Am I going to buy a John Byrne Elseworld page? So, like the Elsewhen, is that what we're talking about?
Sorry, Elsewin. Yeah, sorry,
Are
Elsewin.
those
Yeah.
pages up for sale?
I think he eventually is going to. Yeah.
And I'm in the market because why? How did that happen in my life that I'm buying John Byrne original art? I'm definitely a fan of original art. Don't get me wrong. I don't think my bank account supports my fandom.
Yeah.
But I'm more inclined to pick up an artist edition that has original art in it.
I can't even afford those.
Pardon me?
I can't even afford the artist editions right now. Like,
Right.
look at
No, I mean, realistically, I can't responsibly either.
yes.
But I'd rather buy an artist edition than buy comics for 10 weeks or something like that. Like
Oh, yeah.
I picked up one. I picked up the Marvel Covers one.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
There's like $10 million worth of original art in it. So I'm happier to have that and have all these amazing artists' work than to try and buy one piece of original art. I don't think I have any original art out there. So maybe one day.
I think it's too much pressure. I think I'd freak. I think it would be in the back of my head the whole time of like of having something that valuable like in your house.
Sure. I would probably really enjoy it. But I think the days of getting original art, I think like the winds have shifted so much that they're so expensive these days.
Yeah,
You hear stories about certain guys at conventions coming across pages for 50, $60, and I'm like, oh, well, once that passed and that was over, you're not getting those people's art anymore.
they're actually being purchased by acquisition groups now,
Right,
or
right. So once it's, I think their value has just increased so dramatically that it's no longer realistic for me.
like the three was it $3.5 million Spider-Man page?
Oh, that was one I was going to get. Yeah. If there was something you could own, if you could like pick something that was in good condition and forget about the price, is there something you'd like?
I would get. I would own the one I would love is the double splash page of Commandy, one where the Statue of Liberty and Commandy's on the raft floating. I would love
So
that.
hold on. I don't have it.
So, are you surprised me with something?
I don't have it, but do you have this?
No.
I actually had it, Jonathan. If you look, I have it bookmarked. I have this in the spot. This.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so if you get this book, you get pencils and inks. So you get the pencils are maybe non-existent, or are they here? The covers here. I don't know if the pencils still exist for this. I'll have to read, but maybe watching me read online is not everyone's idea of fun. It says photocopies of the pencils not available, but the inks are here. The original art has been reprinted probably a couple times, but it's in pencils and inks, which is an artisan edition from IDW. I got this one at the Beguiling maybe 4 years ago, and it is. Did you know this book already?
No, there's so many like there's a Kirby magazine that's out there too that have stuff,
Sure.
all these pencils and stuff. But
So this one has the first issue of the Demon, Commandy, and OMAC. All the pencils that are available, and then all the inks on the corresponding page. So you get to see Mike Royer probably at his, maybe his best, and Kirby maybe at his best, depending on your taste. But seeing the pages side by side are incredible. So this exists because at this point in time, Kirby actually had a photocopy machine at his house, and he was living in California. So he was able to photocopy pages before Royer would get them and ink them.
oh, that's so cool.
Which, yeah, it has made it so that something like an artifact like this is possible, which is awesome. So I would highly, highly recommend it, especially because it has your dream double page spread in it, and it is gorgeous.
Yeah.
I actually just got a copy of Commanding #1.
Oh, like an original edition.
Yeah. It fell into my lap.
Oh, that's so cool.
I think so too. I'm really excited to crack it open, truthfully, and give it a gentle look through.
I found I went to a comic book warehouse and they have this they have a really amazing dollar bin diving section. Like they just have there's some really good treasure there. And I found an issue of Demon and I found Mr. Miracle issue of Kirby's.
That's awesome. This is this is Brampton, right?
Oh, yeah, Brampton. Yeah,
I gotta go there.
it's crazy. Like I spent like 5 hours, like just like a whole day, kind of just basically like because they have it all boxes stacked upon boxes. So you just basically will like go through them, and you discover underneath the long boxes there's more. You just move those out of the way, and then like it's yeah, it's just kind of cool because you get to kind of see like a bunch of like really cool like things that you forgot existed. I got I don't know if you were in this one, but this was a new universe. The '80s was called the Pit, the Pit or something, and it was like I think the big storyline that was going to destroy the Marvel New Universe. John Burns was it's the infamous one where John Burns wrote it and got revenge on Jim Shooter by destroying his hometown in the destroying Pittsburgh in the comic book.
Okay. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to even just picture it. Pit. I don't know. I don't remember. I do remember the new universe though, like Kickers Incorporated and
Yeah.
uh,
Starbrand.
Starbrand. Yeah, it was going to be like the new main character in Marvel.
I gotta say this too. So my first comic book as a kid ever buying, like owning myself, was Cyforce.
Right.
And as a kid, I didn't understand the word Psy, so for the longest time I always called it PSI Force.
Of course. It is a weird word. You learn all sorts of weird science fiction stuff from reading comics back in those days.
Yeah. I remember like before I used to pronounce Magneto as Magneto.
Yeah, you're one of those kids. I talk about those kids. I jokingly call it Magneto sometimes on the stream to Chris just to provoke him. There were kids that called him Submariner.
Oh yeah, somebody here.
And of course, people still Darkseid and Darkseid. Like, no, it's yeah. But that's part of the fun of comics before they were mass pop culture.
Yeah.
Still this silent, lonely, not underground, silent, like meaning that it was okay, solitary. That's I guess what I'm going for. Reading comics was a solitary experience, and there weren't these venues to sort of share in experiences and consume things together where you weren't hearing characters' names. So people have all these individual pronunciations that are becoming extinct the more we get media. But yeah.
Oh, I'll mention too. Jason also said he found a Titans Perez autograph in the comic warehouse. That's an amazing find.
It is a great find for sure. Is it a gross space to be in? Is it a nice space to be in? I've like I said, I haven't been there.
It's kind of claustrophobic. If you're claustrophobic, I think it would get overwhelming.
Right.
I went with I think last month. Me and Sam Noir, we went there. We spent the whole day together, just going through some stuff.
That's awesome. And is the owner someone nice, or like the manager?
Well, okay, so sadly, the owner passed away recently. Right now, I think I'm not sure who's running it now, the people there, but it's still out. It's still running and stuff like that. But yeah, like they're it's not that they're nicer. They're not like bad. They're just kind of like out of your way, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
See, now here's where I'm scared with the drawing. I need to do something with this hand, and I'm not sure. Like, obviously, the perspective is all warped from just the camera angle. Anyway, I've got this. I'm doing this Guardian, and he's there, and it's fine. Whatever. I'm gonna do lots more hatching and lots more filling in blacks. But this hand, I've got to like either do nothing with it, like make it so it's disappeared, kind of in the blast, or go reverse as if it's like Human Torch, in that you have all the black there,
Oh yeah. I mean, who was it? Was it Alex Toth? When in doubt, black it out.
Yeah, and that could come back in with white media too.
Yeah. You know what's fun about the Human Torch thing for the longest time? When I was a kid, like trying to you try to translate like comic language, that torch effect. I always felt like he looked like a big sweater man. Like he wore like his whole body was a big wool sweater.
Yeah,
like that hatching effect.
That is funny that you'd say that. A sweater man.
Like he looked like sweater. Yeah, like a big sweater.
It's funny how that effect, again, it's like an abstraction of what fire would be and
Yeah.
how it worked only for so long. And then eventually like stops looking like a guy on fire pretty quick.
It's interesting too, where like I think when like digital coloring started coming in, and then people start to take more liberties of how they can interpret Human Torch,
Yes.
where you can start incorporating his hair. Like I think a lot of artists now will try to incorporate his hair into like a flaming head type of thing.
Do you remember the first time you saw Alex Ross
Oh
do
yeah,
Human Torch and Marvels?
that was crazy. It was an actual guy on fire.
It was a guy on fire. It was like upping the ante.
I liked again like I think when Stuart M not Stuart M, sorry Steve McNiven when he came onto the four title, like he started to like I think his Human Torch was very interesting. Like he had that kind of flaming hair Human Torch.
I missed it.
Yeah.
McNiven stuff I really like. He makes me crazy with again how much drawing he's doing. It's
Yeah.
there's so much there.
I know something, but I think he's like an improved Brett Booth.
Mhm.
You ever watch you ever like see Brett Booth stuff or he's a '90s artist too.
I have seen his stuff, yeah.
He's doing Spawn now or
Hold
Spawn.
on. One sec. I think I hear my dog right here. Is the dog upstairs? Okay. Guess not. I thought I heard him whimpering at my door. Which would be weird because he doesn't come upstairs. So, what are you working on with your comics right now?
I'm right now going on issue 3 for the Fly Trap. We're planning to release it for TCAF.
So, can I ask, like, how far in the process are you hoping? TCAF is like June 19th, around there.
Yeah.
How far in the process are you?
I'm finished. I'm finished entirely of page 1 to 11, and I'm having right now. I'm just plotting out pages 12 to 21, and then I'm on it. Basically, I'm trying to get it. I want to get it done by like the end of by April, so that we have enough time to go through it and like whittle it down if we need to, or if it needs anything extra and stuff like that.
And when it comes to printing, how are you printing it?
Oh, I'm printing it here at work and stuff. I basically. Oh, so I don't know if you're aware of this, but right now there's a current crisis going on with the. I mean, there's crisis everywhere. Other stuff. I'm not gonna downplay.
In the context in which we're speaking, yes, it's
Yes.
a crisis, and in making comics, sure.
There's right now a toner shortage, and there's a paper shortage still. So I had to purchase all my paper in advance. I bought 2 boxes just in case that when it came time to printing that I wouldn't have it available and stuff. And toner. So it's crazy with the whole toner shortage. Apparently, Japan, there's like one place that makes all the toner, and they had a fire a year ago, and so right now we're experiencing the backlog of that.
That's insane.
Yeah, right.
So everyone else who wants to get their books done for TCAF, they're up Shit's Creek.
Well, they have to like plan ahead because it's when there might be backlogged. Because I know some people recently that have delays on their printing stuff because of the toner shortage and stuff. Like it's just that it's come to a point right now where it's harder to come by as much. So like for instance, your whoever has a printing shop, their I guess the person who hooks them up or their dealer and stuff won't give them toner unless they're actually out of it and stuff. Like so you can't like so it's like it's like until it's actually necessary that you need it.
Wow. There's like they're rationing toner.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's going to be fun. Fun for Chris and I to get our next couple issues printed. Yeah, fun.
Well, I mean, there's a possibility that it might correct itself by a certain point, but that's just right now what's going on. So
Yeah.
it's either that or you're going to see it in cost wise. It's going to be like you're going to be hit by it through cost. Yeah, like for me, paper doubled in price.
Jason sent it out. Nice to see you, Jason. Cheers, man. Have a good night.
Yeah.
It's 10:30. You and I can we can call it. It's been 90 minutes. I've gotten quite a bit done. Much more now that I started saying I was going slow. I'm finishing up this terrible weapon alpha. I will make it look better by tomorrow, no doubt. Let me get full screen yours for a minute, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Is it okay with you?
Yep. This is what I did.
Oh my God! See, like, look at this guy. You're a beast. You really are. That is awesome. That looks fantastic. You should put that piece up for sale for sure, unless you want to keep it.
No. I mean, I'll post it. I mean, do you do this at the end? Do you sell your pieces? Is that?
I've never done this before. This is my first time.
Oh, cool.
So usually it's just me and Chris talking about X-Men. We show the X-Men pages because we have like an old DVD-ROM of 40 years of X-Men comics or whatever it is. Like up until like 2007, every single issue is on this one DVD-ROM. So we put the pages up and we go through the issue and take it apart with some fun and share the story with the folks out there who have not had a chance maybe to read them or they're reliving them. So I haven't done a live drawing before. I find it terrifying, but yeah, I mean, learning how to like get prepped and finish it within the hour, like doing con sketches, it's a really good thing to practice, and I have much practicing to do, and I'm way out of my style depth, so it's good fun. I'm all for trying new things and figuring out what I can do better.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. Here's the thing too. Like, I really cut my teeth on. I don't know if you ever see, but Gotham Central had these drawing once a year. They had these drawing competitions.
Yes, I remember.
And I remember doing it, spending the whole like basically we were drawing from the morning till like evening. Like for a whole work day, we were just nonstop drawing, and it was just one competition after another. And that really like I really felt like a better artist coming out of it afterwards. Like it was one of those things where like I all of a sudden it brought me back to when I was doing art school, where when you're drawing something, like for instance, you're drawing a sketch for somebody, you're going, okay, well, by this, if I'm doing it for 30 minutes, 10 minutes I should have the shape done. 5 minutes I should be like doing the details, and then I should start doing inking for the next 15 minutes or so and stuff. And you start getting like into your head this kind of like formula stuff where it's like, oh, I want to push an ambitious thing, but then you're like, wait a minute, I only have this much time to do it. And so like, yeah, it was really cool. I got as far as the final four. I got into the final four and I lost to Casey. Casey
Parsons.
Yeah, Casey Parsons. He did Man Thing, and I was dumb. I did the Queen Alien and Ada should say.
Yeah, that was a strategic error on your part.
Yeah, that was dumb on my part. I was like, people are gonna be so impressed by it, but then I didn't really add as much color as well too. And like people, like if you see like if someone took a picture of it and how it looked online, it didn't really translate as well. So it was like, yeah.
Casey also has a very different style than you, so that's a nice match because you guys don't do things the same.
Yeah.
That's really cool. But yeah, learning a lot through those experiences is invaluable.
I also the comic jams at the Cameron House was kind of how I kind of got back to everything as well too. But I think you personally, I think you're past that point now too, because you're like the amount of comic books that you have more comic time than I do right now.
I don't know. I'll take your word for it.
I think you're past 200 pages, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But but that only means what it means. Um, I know people that have done 500 pages, but maybe their threshold for what they consider a page or completed page might be lighter. Like, so everyone's got to figure out their own way of doing it. And I mean, I know I'm getting better, but it's also like finding a way to do different. For me, I know how to do certain things. I know how to like. I have like not a Jason Lapidus style, but I do have like a formula or a look that I usually do. And when I stray from it, that's when I get into trouble. Because I'm trying to do someone else's art. I'm trying to do, in another look or another look in a different style, and I get into big trouble with it because I don't know how to do it. So me like venturing into superhero comics and trying to do, like not actually do John Byrne, um, but have him on the brain and having, I mentioned before, Art Adams on the brain. These are mistakes for me. I need to like go back and think, Kirby and think Darwin Cook and Bruce Timm and like just getting it and Toph and keeping it simple and
Yeah.
having the composition be the strength, not the rendering. And it's hard for me to do that. Like cross hatching is a demon for me. Like I got to stay away from it. But
Yeah,
I love doing it, even though I'm not good at it.
No, I'll say this. I made it a point. So basically, for the longest time, I was struggling like years ago, and I looked at Dave Johnson's work, and I realized Dave Johnson does the cross hatching, and I love how solid it was.
Yeah,
And not that I was trying to copy Dave Johnson, but I realized that it kind of gave me permission to not cross hatch. That you
sure.
don't, because before I thought you had to cross hatch, like that was like the whole part of rendering, or that was ink technique. But then I realized, oh, cool! If I just do like, I can still be a dynamic artist with spot blacks and
Yep.
interpret that way. And I feel like after that, I kind of like I was onto something basically. Like it started to grow, and it was actually a lot fun to draw again. Because I think that's another component too. Because I feel like I think sometimes we get so caught up of what we should be doing. Like for instance, I looked at is it Dylan Burnett?
Yep. Yeah.
I love his work. Dylan. So he based. I looked at. I was studying his work, and I noticed the way he approached backgrounds, and he had this really great organic way of approaching backgrounds, and it was actually very revolutionary for me to do it, to take that kind of to get that kind of concept, because for the longest time I would draw organically people, and then I would treat backgrounds like a math, like a geometry
Yeah.
exam, and all that momentum and enthusiasm just like kind of went out the window to do something where maybe like there's a sense, obviously there's a sense where you have to like keep perspective things in mind, but that's not like, but I think it was more important to set the mood of what the story was, or like if you can make the background a character, and approach it in an organic sense.
That's very wise. I hear you. I got to look at more Dylan stuff. I met him a couple times, and he was shy and very nice. I think a lot of times when Chris and I meet younger cartoonists in person or younger comic makers in whatever form, we meet them when we're together at something social. Given that we're also both in our 40s and Dylan's a little younger, we were a little bit on the louder side, and I think he kind of wanted to be back in his studio drawing comics. So yeah, we were at in Guelph at one of the Guelph events, the Dragon Con kind of stuff.
Yes. Yeah, no, I mean, like, yeah, just I think your Thor stuff's pretty good. Like, I think you're onto something there.
Thanks, man. I
No,
gotta
because I mean,
I gotta keep going with that. It's been a red hot minute since I've moved forward and worked on a page. So yeah,
because I remember like your even your group of seven like your like from the first issue, and you redid the first issue with the trade stuff. Like I can see that. I remember before talking to you, you were getting is it David Cho advice? You're or Michael
Michael Show. Yeah,
Cho. Michael Cho was giving you some advice, and I can see that like you applying that to the like reapproach and stuff.
yeah. He gave me some really great advice. Him and Stelfreeze were like, yeah, just such great guys about schooling me at Fan Expo a couple years ago, and
Oh yeah, so
part of that is just being old enough to like want to be schooled.
yeah.
You know, like both of them sort of said, like, okay, hold on, let me look at you. How old are you? Are you ready for this, buddy? And I'm like, yep, here we go. And okay, take a seat. It's gonna hurt, but it's worth it. I'm like, okay, go, all good. So both those guys were ruthless, and I actually have what Michael Cho and Stelfreeze wrote like on my desk above, or what they said. I wrote it down. I took notes, but I have it here above my drawing board. I love that stuff. I love critical feedback, even though like not all of it applies to me all the time. There are moments where it applies, and you just have to be open to it and find a way to apply their professional wisdom to my stuff. So it was, yeah, valuable experience, invaluable experience.
To be honest, for me right now, I like advice from other artists and people who make stuff.
Yeah, no, I think it's hugely valuable.
Like I don't know, like I'm trying to reconcile right now with like the concept of certain critics, or like I understand everyone, like there has to be like a that's an occupation, and I respect people doing stuff, but I don't know, I kind of have a problem sometimes with people, like you spend hours doing something and then somebody takes 5 minutes looking at it and just like kind of tears it apart, or doesn't like understand like the process of how it's made and stuff.
Yes, I hear what you're saying, and I agree and disagree.
Yeah,
Of course, as I'm prone to do. I agree with you in that it is really good to contextualize the feedback you get so that you can survive and
yeah,
make peace with yourself, and and like get through it, because it can be really hard taking feedback,
yeah,
especially if it's critical. That being said, um, I think different feedback is really valuable. So, for instance, I will show a page to Chris to see if I'm like hitting the target that he's imagining, or if he just likes it, just flat out. Then I'll show the same page maybe to an artist friend, and they'll give me some feedback here or there. But then I'll show the same page to one of my kids, and they're like, "I don't get it, Dad." I'm like, "Okay, that's you're the only person who says they don't get it, so I need to make sure it works for a 13-year-old, and from an art point of view, and from a writer's point of view. Like each of the all these different spectrums of individuals. There's something valuable in each of their feedbacks. So I look for multiple, but when it comes to the advice side, yeah, I agree with you. Like I want from someone who has experience.
I get what you're saying there. That's more about like I think readability and
Yeah.
clarity, and I think that's yeah. I think putting through the ringer of like I think asking somebody, like for instance, you show them a page, you go, "What's going on this page?" Just like what do you think's going on this page? I think that's valuable. I think
Yeah.
that's something that's like just helps you understand like of like how you are as a storyteller, and like that part of it. Yeah, I get that part of it. I understand that. You get angry kids, you're like, screw you, you don't understand.
Yes.
What do you know? You're into Pokemon.
Exactly. Exactly.
You're like,
Feedback is hard.
no, I know that too. I mean, at a young age though, like I think I told you just a long time ago was, I had a very like this is like really luck on my side. So when my parents they had a copy shop, they had a photocopy place on Bloor West Village, and they would get so David Ross would fax his Marvel pages
Right.
at our office, and I remember my mom telling me, "Oh, there's this comic artist guy, and he's like David Ross." And then, like my brother and I knew exactly who he was and everything. And I got excited, and I basically drew a picture and go, "Mom, give it to him, give it to him." And then and tell me what he thinks. And then the next, which has like work, he has a whole like he writes a whole paragraph of all the things I need to work on and stuff. I'm like 7 years old, right? But it was great. It was like it was kind of like the starting point of kind of like like of what it takes, what you need to do in order to like become an artist. Like, oh, you should learn anatomy,
Yeah.
like get this right or get this thing. I don't get what you're doing here. And it was a whole paragraph written on the actual right beside the superhero character I designed and stuff.
That's invaluable that he would do that. That's really nice of him.
Yeah.
And if you could take it, like if you didn't mind, you were able to live with that. You know, it didn't hurt you too much.
No, I understood in the beginning that like that was going to be part of the whole thing of being an artist is that you had to have like thick skin and stuff. That
Yeah,
it,
definitely.
it was a process where you can get beaten, you know, like that, like that's the whole pride kind of thing.
Absolutely. I need to look up a picture. Yeah.
I also realized, so I still have because with the stuffy facts, I still have the database of the stuffy facts, so I technically have Roy Thomas's fax number.
Uh, his old fax number, yeah.
I don't know. Should I just fax see what happens, or?
You should fax in like some pages that they forgot to submit. It's like it's only arriving now.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
I think I even might have Quesada's event because he also at the time when Dave Ross was faxing, he was working on West Coast Avengers,
Oh, okay.
and
Awesome.
and he was doing also he was also working on his own character called Raptor, which was part of Event Comics, which was Joe Quesada's company at the time.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
David Ross is going to be at Toronto Comic Con on the weekend.
Oh yeah, he's there. He's a regular. I say he's there a lot.
Remember, he drew an Alpha Flight annual and some Alpha Flight issues I have.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, like he was kind of like that. He was kind of like that. He was like a big fill-in artist, kind of like him and who's the guy? Like I think was it Bennett? Is it Tony Bennett? Tony Bennett, like who before Immortal Hulk, he was like a big fill-in artist.
I have no idea.
Like whenever I saw Tony Bennett on a comic book, you knew it was gonna end. Like it was like, oh, he's a closer. It's gonna finish.
Yeah, the original team has moved on.
Yeah, like oh, this the comic books. I remember because he finished. There were Green Goblin. The Green Goblin had a comic book series, the superhero.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did it go more than 50 issues?
It went, I think, like 25. Scott McDaniel was the original artist, which I think was
okay.
work. I don't know. Are you familiar with that concept of that superhero Green Goblin?
Sorry, I thought you were saying Green Goblin.
Yeah, Green Goblin. There was a Green Goblin superhero. There was a hero Green Goblin.
No, I don't remember any superhero. I just know the Norman Osborn character.
So Ben is it Ulrich? Ulrich.
The reporter.
Yeah, his cousin, his nephew, finds the costume and fights crime.
As the Green Goblin. Okay, that's
Green Goblin. Yeah.
Was Scott McDaniel's art on it good?
It was amazing. It's probably I'll say this. I'm back in the day in the '90s. I was a big Scott McDaniel fan. Like I was a fan of his Daredevil and his Green Goblin, his Nightwing. His newer stuff is not the same. I don't think he's like I don't think he's trying as hard as he was before and stuff. But before, like he had this really great like relationship with Negative Space and very like dynamic like animated poses and stuff. Like his I think he really contributed a lot to Nightwing because he made Nightwing more acrobatic. And
huge,
stuff.
Huge.
Yeah.
I have every one of his Nightwing issues. I read them off the stand when they came out, and I've reread them a few times too.
Oh yeah. Oh cool.
I love his Nightwing.
Yeah.
I need to do something graphic with this. Something in the back. I should have put another circle in, like a half circle. And then
what about a Kirby Crackle?
Yeah, that's absolutely what I should have done. Yeah, I still can actually. It makes total sense. It's I feel like it's a little on the nose for me of late. I've done a lot of Kirby Crackle, but it really does work.
Yeah, because it adds like cool line variety to like your work.
Yeah. Oh, huge. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm gonna. Thank you. I'll figure it out and I'll get some good circles going and figure out how I want it to be. But yeah, there's lots of good space for it. So it plays off his costume. Okay, before we call it a night, because it's getting late, and I know that
Yeah.
my family is still waiting for me to see them again before bed. When it comes to shooting zaps, okay, like hand zaps.
Yeah.
Guardian, Vindicator, Weapon Alpha. He's an open palmed shooter, but I always think this is like it's lame.
Yeah.
Who shoots like this? Like where does that come from? And does Storm shoot open handed? I mean, who can you think of like where you think that comes from? Maybe in comics,
Okay.
like
So
superheroes who shoot zaps.
John Burns probably did. John Burns was famous for doing like the open hand stuff. Storm would shoot with their fingers like this. I know like stuff like Spider Woman. I think she before, which did she shoot her webs kind of, or she did her stingers like that as well too. Like she did this. Like I think it's a '70s thing. Like I wonder if it was the one of the thing where I wonder. Here's the thing. Call me crazy here, but I wonder if it was an evolution or byproduct of the kung fu phase of having a kung fu chop, and then eventually like it went from like a chop shot, like
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know, like because I remember like what like like the like for, at one point every martial art person was just had a chop, not a punch or something like that. That was a way to indicate.
Even
And I
Wonder
wonder,
Woman. Even Wonder Woman when she's the martial arts version. She's doing judo flips and stuff. But I'm wondering, like, in the golden age superheroes, does anyone shoot from their? There's gotta be someone who shoots from their hands. I'm thinking
like
of the DC guys, like Green Lantern from The Ring, but everyone else is kind of like has other powers. Who else shoots zaps?
What about this Vision? This Vision in the comic books, does he shoot?
From the head. He shoots from
his
his
always
whatever's in his. I think so.
In like even in like the later like the '70s ones. Like I know like before like that's part of it too. But I think you're right.
Human Torch.
Human Torch and Captain Atom.
Captain Atom, sure. But so Human Torch would open hand it.
Yeah, he open handed.
I wonder what so that's Kirby doing that. I wonder what the meaning behind it or I like it. So I'm drawing him like it's more of a punch, like you shoot from the fist. It's an aggressive move.
Hey, I wonder maybe that might be a comics code thing, like where like consciously, like I don't know, maybe like for instance, if you're doing a fist, like maybe that's like a indicate like that would be like a comics code like violent thing, consider violence fists versus doing this as more pacifist.
Maybe. My first thought is that it's connects to magic, like I don't know, putting your hand out to cast a magic spell.
Also,
shoots from the hands.
Also, too, it might be just easier to like, for instance, to either draw a full clenched fist or a hand that's completely straight. That could be just easier to draw, as opposed to like fingers. As opposed to fingers like like spread out or having to like plot that. Like you could probably like make the shape of the hand fully and just ink around it. Or you don't even have to fill in that shape. You can just do like a, you can just do the shape of that hand and people get it.
I don't know.
It could be a shorthand.
All right. We should call it there.
Okay.
I'm going to try and finish this deep into the night, and hopefully it will be at Toronto Comic Con, and someone can say, "Hey, aren't you the guy that drew that picture next to Jonathan Kociuba who drew that amazing picture?" And I can be like, "Yes, I was virtually next to him while he drew this amazing throwback to late '80s X-Men comics." But where can people find you in your comics?
You can find me. You can get my comic books at you can go to my website, jonathankociuba.com. I have links to my comic book, which is under the Grotesque Comics site. But yeah, if you go to jonathankociuba.com, you can find my stuff there. And on my Instagram, which is, if you type in Jonathan Kociuba, my Instagram name is JSKAYE, which I did back in the day, not thinking that it would be difficult in the future.
So then I'm going to put all your details in the description below when I post this in the end. I'm going to take my picture off there. I'm going to take your image off too of your drawing, and
Cool.
maybe we can just hold them up. If you want to hold up yours one last time. Whoops. Make yours solo. There you go. You want to hold that up? Look at that beauty.
It's in the camera.
That is awesome. That really looks great, man. You make me cry. And then I'll hold up mine so far. You can see I'm getting somewhere. It's getting.
Yeah. It's like heroic.
It's getting somewhere. Yeah, heroic. That's what I like. It's getting somewhere. We got to figure out what to do with that punching, zapping hand and the background, and I'll get there. All in good time. Next week, Chris will return, hopefully, and we will continue on with, I believe, X-Men 112, where the X-Men will be facing off against Magneto, or as people call him, Magneto. It'll be that issue. That's next week's.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a great Cockrum cover. Really, really memorable. The classic X-Men cover is this one, which is Art Adams doing amazing stuff. And that's where we'll be at next week on Tuesday at 9 o'clock, as always. We do not have a special X-Men sign-off. We don't do some sort of like X-Men nonsense, so we'll just call it a night. But Jonathan, thank you very much for joining me here.
You're welcome.
You're awesome. And thank you. And hopefully I'll see you sooner than later in person now that things seem to be opening up. Yeah?
Yes.
Awesome.
For sure. Cool.
All right. Everyone out there, have a good night, and thanks for joining us. Cheers.
Cheers.